Why is everybody using Glimmora? Is Mega Venusaur the next big anti-meta threat? And how exactly did Mega Dragonite win a giant tournament this weekend? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's metagame update. There's a lot to discuss, so let's just begin. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumio City. Let's just begin. So, today we're going to be talking about three major teams. I'll talk about some Pokemon that are currently falling off, some Pokemon that are picking up in usage, and finally some Pokemon that have some pretty big potential. So, we've got a little bit to go over today. Let's see if we can get it done in a timely manner, because I have a lot going on later. So, Glimmora. Glimmora is a Pokemon that has been picking up quite a bit in usage, and this is a Glimmora team that actually finished in first place at the end of Season 1. Now, Season 1's been over for a little bit now, but Glimmora was picking up quite a bit towards the end of it. So basically, the whole point of Glimmora is it's simultaneously nuanced and also not even really complex. Basically, Glimmora is able to not only take on Aerodactyl, as it's able to one-shot it with Power Gem as long as it doesn't have like a ton of a bulk investment, but it's also able to deal with Charizard, which is one of the bigger threats in the metagame right now. So by using a Glimmora and a Whimsicott instead of like an Aerodactyl and usually it's like a Sylveon or something on this sort of team, you're able to simultaneously set up Tailwind while also guaranteeing major damage into either the Charizard or the Aerodactyl, and practically guaranteeing a one-shot unless it's like Sash base Aerodactyl, but Mega Aerodactyl also drops to a modest Power Gem. And the value from Glimmora, not only, you know, it doesn't like begin and end with the fact that it's able to take on those two Pokemon, but it also comes with the fact that Glimmora has this ability Toxic Debris, which is really solid. Basically, all it does is it makes it so if Glimmora takes any physical damage on that turn, it's going to spread Toxic Spikes into their side of the field. So the thing with that is that currently there aren't a lot of high usage poison types other than Sneasler. And Sneasler is the type of Pokemon that really tends to lead off a game rather than stay in the back. Due to this, it's actually pretty difficult to remove Glimmora's Toxic Spikes with a lot of the stuff that's currently in the metagame. And with the nature of this sort of team, Glimmora actually just perfectly fits this slot, as the poison damage and the initial, like, you know, KOing of a Pokemon or two do allow for Pokemon like Basculegion and Kingambit to be even more effective in the back. Basically, you know, the whole point of like the Aerodactyl Charizard teams was taking as many KOs as possible on lead and then getting like pretty consequential Rock Slide and Heat Wave chip on Pokemon, so that way they're in range of like a Last Respects, Aqua Jet, or whatever, or even more importantly, like a Sucker Punch from a Kingambit. Glimmora basically does this, but its presence is felt even further on in the game after it's been KO'd, because Toxic Debris will poison many of the Pokemon that come in. But it's just got like decent roll compression. Sludge Bomb allows for Glimmora to take on many of the huge fairy types that are running around the metagame right now, most notably Sylveon, Floette, and of course opposing Whimsicott. So that's very big for it. And yeah, I mean, like, it also has access to Power Gem, which is, you know, its main damage dealing move. It's going to be taking on the Charizard and the Aerodactyl, but Earth Power is its coverage move, which deals pretty significant damage to it deals pretty significant damage to Archaludon. As bulky as Archaludon gets, right? If we use like the Erenzang Rang Archaludon, which has like a ton of HP and a ton of special defense, you can see that if like the light screen isn't up, it's still doing 65 or 62 to 75%. And if the light screen does go up, while that damage is cut, it is still a pretty good shot that you'll just KO it in the second turn if it takes any amount of chip damage beyond that. It's like a low roll. It is a low chance to like have the high roll and like get the double KO, get the 2 at KO. But I mean, like, if you have any other damage, if you like Moonblast or something, then like you're going to be able to pick up that KO pretty effectively against the Archaludon. And of course, the Sash is just like a phenomenal item in the metagame right now. It makes it so you're able to tank a hit, not really have to invest anything in bulk, and then get max value out of a Pokemon that would normally not be super bulky. But yeah, Glimmora is very strong right now. Something really cool with this team in particular is that Whimsicott does run a Fairy Feather. Now, Fairy Feather's important for a couple of reasons. We typically only really saw Fairy Feather on Whimsicott when it was ran next to Mega Floette. And that's because Whimsicott with a Fairy Feather and Mega Floette next to it is actually pretty impressive damage. I can actually show you something really quick. Whimsicott, Sash, Tailwind support. We'll switch that out for a Fairy Feather. Just go max special attack. And yeah, and Archaludon, right? So like, no light screen. You can see that Moonblast from a Whimsicott with no Fairy Feather is only going to be dealing 38%, but if you apply that Fairy Feather onto it, it does get a significant boost to that damage, and now you're going to be dealing 45% if you have like the higher roll. The reason this was good next to Mega Floette is because you're able to make it so your Whimsicott is not only like a Tailwind piece, but also you're able to double down on your Fairy type damage by using that Fairy Aura. Now your Whimsicott is 2-hit KOing Archaludon with almost max special defense. So yeah, it is very threatening. Of course, like you don't have Fairy Aura on this team, but one of the important interactions is that Garchomp is being ran in a way that is fairly bulky right now, almost as a response to the Fairy Feather, to be honest. But like you can see that like a bulkier Garchomp with like a Citrus Berry, you are still guaranteed to 2-hit KO the Garchomp without the Citrus Berry. And if you're like facing off against like just a regular 2 HP Garchomp, right? You can see that it's a roll to one-shot that, and that's assuming they have any special defense. Yeah, it's a roll to one-shot Garchomp with Timid. Of course, you can go Modest, and then like the roll is even more in your favor, 68% chance. This one does opt for Timid because you want to make sure you're outspeeding stuff like Sneasler, and yeah, or not Sneasler. You're going to be outspeeding stuff like, you know, opposing Garchomp. But Whimsicott is very strong right now. Of course, it has like great synergy with Glimmora because while Glimmora is able to hit like fairy types for super effective damage as well as like fire types and stuff, Whimsicott is able to deal with things like Garchomp, which would normally threaten Glimmora as it is a ground type, well, ground dragon type. And also Whimsicott is able to just deal decent damage across the board. I mean, like it's fairy type. It hits most things for neutral. The only things it's not hitting for like neutral are steel and poison types, which Glimmora can deal with them with earth power. And Charizard, of course, is Charizard. It's running like the bulkier set that can tank like a Rock Tomb or a Rock Slide from a Garchomp. And the rest of the team is just like the cleanup crew. You can also lead off Garchomp like Charizard stuff. But yeah, it really is just like Glimmora having these like solid matchups into a lot of metagame staples, being able to hit Pokemon like Kingambit, Whimsicott, Charizard, Aerodactyl for super effective damage, and then like spread the toxic debris so that its partner Pokemon have an easier time picking up KOs with their stab moves. Because like, you know, if you aren't in range of a Sucker Punch, give it a turn or two, click Protect, you'll be in range. Or the Pokemon will be in range because they're poisoned. So yeah, this team is really solid. I mean, that's like the biggest update to what's going on right now. As you can see, this sort of archetype was very prevalent in the Victory Road May Challenge 3. It isn't what won it, and we'll talk about that last today. But as you can see, like this archetype is picking up. It got 4th place, it got 6th place, not 7th because like this is a different kind of team altogether, but you can see like the value Glimmora brings to games is kind of like the same thing here. You have your Tailwind mode with like your, you know, a high damaging special attacker, and then you have like a Sash Glimmora with Kingambit cleanup crew, and also to an extent Mega Scizor is like a good cleanup crew Pokemon. It is a Pokemon that relies heavily on its like priority moves that are low base power but still able to deal massive damage. We see another variant of this ran by Francesco here, which is running a Mega Kangaskhan team with Fake Out, Drain Punch, Sucker Punch, and Double Edge. Of course, the Sash Glimmora. Yeah, Sash Glimmora is just like in a really good spot overall. There is this team run by Jun Ki, which has the Mega Glimmora, and Mega Glimmora is kind of interesting. It does play kind of similarly. It's just that rather than relying on those toxic spikes and like having the survivability from Focus Sash, you're mostly just using it as like your main damage dealer. It really is just like the matchup mon into the Aerodactyl and the Charizard with Power Gem and stuff. And rather than getting the toxic debris off, you just have like a lot easier of a time picking up KOs, even with your coverage moves, because that special attack is ridiculous. But yeah, this team's extremely good. It's been getting spammed everywhere on ladder right now, and you definitely need to know what it is. As for ways to deal with it, we'll talk about one right now. This channel is partnered with Gamersubs. If you want to support my work and get great tasting drinks, you can order Gamersubs through my link in the description down below, or with code MoxieBoosted at checkout for 10% off. Gamersubs is a caffeinated product that I recommend only to my 18+ viewers, but my link will send you to their caffeine-free product section just in case. Every product purchased through my link supports my channel financially, so I'd really appreciate the support. Now back to the video. We need to talk about Mega Venusaur. The next thing I want to talk about is the team from the Thailand Master Ball League. Now, this team is interesting in that it's technically already a little bit dated because it is from a tournament where I believe they had to lock their teams a little early. I don't know how many days ahead of the tournament they had to lock their teams, but obviously that means that like Glimmora was basically nowhere in this tournament. It wasn't even on the radar. That being said, we need to keep in mind that it is still a powerful team that managed to win a tournament. And there are things on this team that are kind of indicative of Mega Venusaur maybe being the next anti-meta Mega that's kind of like about to have its turn in the spotlight. So this team is pretty cool, as it was made by, I'm going to do my best here, Gitarine Roma Hamankol. I'm hoping that I pronounced that right. I'm always gonna butcher names. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so this team was ran by them, and it's pretty cool as it is a bulky Mega Aerodactyl. Not like super bulky, but like still relatively bulky. 12 HP off of 80, 85, 95 bulk is gonna get you a pretty decent amount of mileage. Of course, it takes advantage of like Sylveon and stuff. I would say that like I've been playing this team a lot on ladder because I've been exploring Mega Venusaur teams as of late. But effectively, the way that this team wants to be ran is you really do kind of just use Mega Venusaur as a secondary mode, from what I can tell. It is mostly a Mega Aerodactyl Sylveon team. And it is like a cleanup crew sort of situation. It plays much like the other teams in this format, where you are mostly using Tailwind plus Hyper Voice Sylveon and like spamming Rock Slide and Hyper Voice to get like significant amounts of chip to get things in range of your Basculegion and your Kommo-o. But also you can opt for other leads, like Incineroar Kommo-o, where you fake out and go for Clangorous Soul, boost your speed, and then deal absurd damage off of +1 Clanging Scales. Like, that's really, really good. But what we need to talk about is, while this did win that tournament prior to, the May challenge, it is just like a good Mega Venusaur team. And we need to talk about Mega Venusaur as a Pokemon. Mega Venusaur has this insane roll compression. It almost plays like another Glimmora, but in a way is also an answer to Glimmora. So Mega Venusaur is a Pokemon with pretty significant bulk, 80 HP, 123 defense, 120 special defense, and the ability Thick Fat means that defensively, it's just like incredible. It's only weak to flying and psychic types effectively, which Aerodactyl, of course, is kind of everywhere right now. But if the team only has like one flying type move with Aerodactyl and like hardly any psychic type moves, like most teams don't have a psychic type at this point in the metagame, then there really isn't a much that can hit it for actually super effective damage, since Thick Fat makes it so fire and ice moves are effectively neutral. But yeah, the thing with Mega Venusaur is that into a lot of what's popular right now, it's able to just have the coverage it needs to deal with it. So if we take a look at like the average Glimmora team, there is a Charizard, yes. However, there's also a Glimmora. Glimmora gets absolutely bodied by Earth Power, or you can, if you assume that they're going to be Focus Sash, you Giga Drain and then you Earth Power to get like the most value out of that. Basculegion, bulky, what's it called? Bulky Mega Venusaur is able to tank a Basculegion Last Respects from not +3, but with 3 boosts off of it from 3 fainted partner Pokemon. And that means that Venusaur is able to effectively just win the 1v1 if you get that Giga Drain off and they have any amount of recoil prior to that. This is the set that person was running, I believe. So yeah, if you look at like Basculegion, you're not going to one-shot it, but like a Scarf Adaptability Basculegion, the Last Respects with 3 boosts on it. This is like not bold, but like this is the modest version. Your Giga Drain is going to be doing 80 to 95%. That's fine. If it has any amount of recoil on it, if it gets down to 80%, you have a pretty good chance of like KOing it. And like, I don't know, if it does like one wave crash and it's down to 90 health, like now your Giga Drain has a 31% chance just to OHKO from that range. So yeah, also beyond that, it is a very bulky Pokemon on the physical side of things. A offensive Garchomp does not really enjoy having to sit in front of a Mega Venusaur, as its Dragon Claw is doing 32 to 38%, but Giga Drain is doing 38 to 45% to it. This means that Venusaur will effectively win the 1v1, as you're going to be just dealing a ton of damage every turn while also getting your health back and just being a nuisance on the battlefield. And Venusaur is not a one-man army type Pokemon, but it is able to, again, play that really annoying role on lead, where it's chipping things down in range of its partner Pokemon, while they have to expend a lot more resources to deal with it than other Pokemon. It's like a slower version of like an Aerodactyl Sylveon lead. It really just sits in front of them and like plays like the war of attrition until like Basculegion comes in and just ends the game. Kommo-o is also in a pretty interesting spot in this metagame right now. Oh, I completely forgot. We have to talk about like Sludge Bomb. Yeah, okay, so another reason Venusaur is good, Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb's incredible right now. Sylveon is everywhere, and Sylveon does not enjoy facing off against a Mega Venusaur. We take a Sylveon, Fairy Feather offense. Its highest damaging move, Hyper Beam, is a 3-hit KO because Venusaur has ridiculous special defense. Of course, it's not going to want to click Hyper Beam turn 1. It's going to be clicking Hyper Voice or Moonblast or something. It's not going to be a good matchup for it because you can just go for Sludge Bomb. I believe, yeah, even like if it has any amount of chip damage on it, once again, like, first of all, if you get 2 high rolls, Giga Drain plus Sludge Bomb is a KO. But, like, of course, if it has any, like, amount of chip damage on it, you can just go for the play where you Giga Drain first and then, like, go for the Sludge Bomb, and it will get that knockout. So that is really cool. Venusaur, though, just defensively, it's incredible right now. And Kommo-o is in a very similar boat. It's only really weak to Fairy types, so on this team, Venusaur kind of plays bodyguard for Kommo-o. Kommo-o will end up in front of a Sylveon, and Sylveon typically only have Hyper Voice and Hyper Beam right now. Moonblast is considered the more niche option, which means it is a very high commitment to click Moonblast. For this reason, Kommo-o runs Soundproof, as it's not able to be hit by Hyper Voice then. It's completely immune to Sylveon's best move. You can go for Protect. Venusaur goes for the Sludge Bomb. You can, from that turn, I mean, like, just go for whatever you want to do. Clanging Scale's the partner Pokemon, or Sphere the partner Pokemon. Venusaur will pick up the KO, as it's almost always going to be outspeeding Sylveon. Sylveon on this team is actually really interesting, too. It is a solid Tailwind Pokemon. I mean, 108 speed is the speed tier where you're outspeeding a lot of Pokemon, but not everything. Of course, you are not going to be outspeeding Mega Aerodactyl as 222. You need to be at least 111 to speed tie that. That being said, you're going to be outrunning like base Aerodactyls, you'll be outrunning like Mega Delphoxes, Scarf Garchomps, like that sort of thing. It is a, actually, are you outrunning Scarf Garchomp? Let me double check. I always forget. What is Scarf Garchomp's actual like speed tier? Start here. I always forget that number. Garchomp. They're usually Adamant Chomp is the thing. 154 times 1.5. That is times 1.5. 231. Okay, so you are getting outsped by Adamant Scarf Garchomp, but you're still outspeeding like a lot of Garchomp, which is the point. You're going to be dealing a lot of damage off of Fairy Feather Hyper Voice, and it's just getting things in range. Honestly, it's kind of funny to say, but like the weakest link in this team is arguably the Incineroar, just because Incineroar, this team does struggle against one Pokemon in particular, and I know from playing the team a lot lately, it does not like Corviknight, and the Sand matchup is atrocious if they have the Corviknight, which all of the Sand teams have Corviknight right now. This team has practically no matchup into that Pokemon. It does rely on endgame with Basculegion, which means that Corviknight can just lead off and kind of do whatever it wants into them. And, you know, Kommo-o could set up on it and go for like Aura Sphere, but even then, a +1 Kommo-o Aura Sphere is not super impressive into a Corviknight, as Corviknight does run special defense most of the time. But yeah, let's say it's like 32-32. I don't think that they're usually 32-32, but let's say like best case scenario, your Kommo-o gets up to +1. It has Aura Sphere. You're doing 51 to 61%. They Brave Bird you back. It's just kind of like, it's game. Like you're not getting it. You're going to take any amount of chip damage. You're going to drop the Earthquake. Anyways, yeah, the team has one major flaw. That Sand matchup is atrocious, or rather the Corviknight matchup. The Sand matchup overall is fine. It's just the Corviknight throws a big wrench in things. But yeah, Venusaur does have a solid place in the metagame right now, at least in its Mega form. But even beyond the Mega form, we need to talk about its base form. Because its base form just won VR Challenge 3, a tournament that we've been looking at this whole time, and I've been having to ignore. So Tota Nambu ended up winning this. They ended up running a team of Mega Charizard Y, Mega Dragonite, Basculegion, King Gambit, Venusaur, and Garchomp. Now, there's a few really interesting techs on this team that I really want to talk about, but one thing I do want to point out is that this is a non-Rain team Mega Dragonite, which is considered kind of rare. I mean, like, Mega Dragonite tends to want to come to Rain matchups because, and I've said this a lot, Mega Dragonite misses all of its moves if it's not on a Rain team, and if you're not running it on a Rain team and clicking Hurricane and Draco Meteor, it just feels like it has underwhelming damage. And I think that is a little bit of an like overstatement saying that it has underwhelming damage, right? Because it does have 145 special attack at the end of the day and great stats overall. But like clicking like non-stab moves and relying entirely on Draco Meteor does feel kind of weird. That being said, it works perfectly for this team. This is a Tailwind Mega Dragonite, allowing for it to enable a partner Garchomp, you know, allowing for it to enable a Scarf Basculegion to further deal with Pokemon, you know, like Mega Aerodactyl, which it normally can't outspeed. And of course, You know, you don't even need to Mega Evolve in a lot of games. You can just go with like base Dragonite with multi-scale because it still can do that. And Charizard Y. I would argue that like, and I didn't see a lot of like games from this team, but I would argue that like a mode that you could play really is just Dragonite Charizard, where you use that as your Tailwind setter. You still Mega Evolve the Charizard, but like it's a base Dragonite. You still get like decent value out of it, even if you don't Mega Evolve, because base Dragonite special attack stat is not bad. It's mostly a physical attacker. Why am I looking at Basculegion? It's mostly a physical attacker, but its special attack is still 100. You still have Draco Meteor. You still have multi-scale. Really, it just seems like the Mega Dragonite's there in case of emergency. If you really like have a terrible like matchup into a sand team, Dragonite's going to be a better option there instead of like the Garchomp, or instead of like the Charizard. But the cool thing with this team, the really cool thing with the team, is how it makes use of Venusaur. Now, Venusaur and Charizard have always been an iconic combo. Not Mega Venusaur, but like base Venusaur with Sleep Powder and Charizard are usually considered Pokemon that, as strong as they are, Venusaur would sometimes drop Sleep Powder for Earth Power, as that allows for it to at least hit more Pokemon like, you know, like Glimmora and stuff, and not have to rely on the Sleep Powder RNG. But Sleep Powder's still going to Sleep Powder. Sleep Powder's still a ridiculous move. And by taking advantage of Sleep Powder, it's able to just win matchups turn one a lot. Like, it's a Charizard Venusaur combo. Venusaur gets double speed. It's able to deal massive damage. But you might notice that the Charizard has Helping Hand instead of Solar Beam. Now, Charizard can afford to run Helping Hand over Solar Beam on this team because Venusaur is the grass type attacker, but it has a very fun interaction. You might have noticed that Aerodactyl is a big check to Charizard. So if we take a Mega Aerodactyl, a Pokemon which you see that this Pokemon outspeeds 132. It's going to be faster than 222 under Chlorophyll. If we take a Mega Aerodactyl and just go offensive Mega, right? And we take a Venusaur, a Sash Venusaur, and it is a Sleep offensive Venusaur. You can see that Leaf Storm is not KOing that Pokemon. Strange. So why run it? It's because you have Helping Hand on the Charizard. It's because you have Helping Hand on the Charizard, and you just take that KO. Helping Hand, bam, one-shots the Aerodactyl, which is ridiculous. Like, one-shotting Aerodactyl with a grass type is kind of nuts, especially a grass type that usually doesn't win that interaction. Of course, you could also just go for the Sleep Powder, but much better just to take the KO. Keep in mind, it's a Helping-handed Leaf Storm. I know how strong Leaf Storm is, even off of like no boost. I used to run a Mega Victory Bell team at the start of this game's release. Even into like a Garchomp, that's ridiculous damage. Charizard does not like facing off against Garchomp because its best move into it is usually Solar Beam. But with this sort of team, its best move into it is now Leaf Storm, a move that has a 68% chance to one-shot a Garchomp that is not bulky. This also is an answer to Basculegion, as Venusaur in Sand, or Venusaur in Sun, is going to outspeed Basculegion. And yeah, you play the team the exact same way you play like a bunch of these other like King Gambit, Basculegion, and the back type teams, where you just chunk everything in the front and then clean up with these two like ridiculous Pokemon in the back. But this is like the natural conclusion of, I want to get the most value out of my Charizard. Let's just run a Venusaur on the team. Like, we're back to square one, but we're playing New Game Plus. The Charizard used to just run Solar Beam or like Air Slash or something like that. Just a underwhelming move in that slot. But if you just tech on the Helping Hand, now you get one-shots instead of having to position so heavily. You know, Charizard's a very heavy position mod. You need to make sure you're not getting outsped by, you know, Tailwind Rock Slide from Garchomp and stuff. You need to make sure you're not getting, you know, out of position with your weather. But you can just play super offensively on turn one. If they decide to bring something that would naturally beat the Charizard, just Leaf Storm it. There's no Life Orb in the game. Helping Hand that, get rid of it, and now your Charizard doesn't have to deal with that annoying piece. It doesn't have to deal with the Aerodactyl. It doesn't have to deal with the Garchomp. I want to check. Let me see. Does this one-shot Tyranitar? Because that's a very annoying Pokemon. That's Scarf Tyranitar. Let me see. Bulky Max Attack Mega. Let's go with that. I mean, Helping Hand is not one-shotting, but it's still doing a lot of damage. That definitely just seems like a Sleep Powder sort of turn. But yeah, and of course you have Earth Power to deal with opposing Steel types. Like, you're still going to be dealing significant damage to Archaludon, and of course you want to deal with opposing Glimmora. But yeah, Venusaur on the rise right now. Those are the big three teams I want to talk about today. I will leave the pace for them in the description down below. That being said, I couldn't find the stats, like the actual stats for this team, so I don't actually have the actual stats for it. So because I don't want to give you guys bad info, I'll just tell you guys the 6, so there won't be any EVs on that one. Now, I want to talk about Pokemon that are falling off. Pokemon that are falling off right now. Incineroar is on this list, but I need you to keep in mind, Incineroar is not bad. Incineroar is still Incineroar. But I want to talk about Pokemon that are currently not seeing as much usage as they used to, and kind of explain why. Sableye. So Sableye is an interesting case because Sableye was the most annoying Pokemon on ladder like a week ago. The metagame is moving quite fast, and I have some data for you. In VR May Challenge 1, start of May, it had a 5.8% usage rate in day 1 and a 3% usage rate in day 2. Keep in mind that meant that there were 2 people using it in day 1. Only one of them made it to day 2. In VR May Challenge 2, 5.5% usage rate in day 1 and an 8% usage rate in day 2. That is a positive conversion rate. This was peak Sableye hours. Sableye, in the wide pool of Pokemon, was underrepresented, but more Sableye made it to day 2 proportionally than they were in day 1. That means that it was in a pretty good spot in the metagame. And then finally, VR Challenge 3, this tournament, the one that just happened on the 16th and 17th. Sableye had a 5.4% usage rate in day 1. Keep in mind, its usage rate has always been just below 6% all 3 times. First time, negative conversion rate. Second time, positive conversion rate. Third time, the absolute lowest conversion rate possible. There were no Sableye in day 2. As a matter of fact, Sableye Rain is practically non-existent. Turtle Time made it a lot further. We had freaking Blastoise make it further than Sableye Archaludon. Or sorry, that's the wrong tournament. Is there Turtle Time here? Turtle Time made it further. It got 5th. But yeah, I'm trying to see if is there anything with Arch here. Yeah, Arch is technically on the decline too, but I'd never want to say it's on the decline as like a hard take, because the fact of the matter is it's Archaludon. It will always have a player base. It is one of the most plug and play Pokemon possible. It is the Game Boy Advanced of Pokemon. No, I'm not going to call it the game. It is the Angry Birds of Pokemon. No matter who you are, you know how to play Angry Birds, and you will play Angry Birds at some point in the future. From now until the day you die, I guarantee you will pick up Angry Birds one more time. That is Archaludon. The reason it's definitely seeing a negative conversion rate is it's low key. It's just Sylveon. The fact of the matter is, back in May Challenge 1, let me pull up May Challenge 1. I'll show you guys this real quick, because I think that this is actually really interesting, just seeing like how big of an impact Sylveon and Whimsicott have had in the metagame. May Challenge 1. May Challenge 1 was the Floette tournament. I will say it is the Mega Floette tournament. There was a Sylveon. We see this guy's way ahead of the curve. You know, Campo, Fede Campo, obviously always ahead of the curve. We do see a Mega Aerodactyl and Sylveon team early on, right? But one Sylveon, mostly the way that it would work out is that you would either have a Mega Floette, or you wouldn't really have a Fairy type at all. Some teams would go with the Sylveon. That was like a thing, but it was extremely low usage rate compared to the Mega Floette. And a Pokemon with even less usage rate was Whimsicott, and Whimsicott wasn't exactly an offensive Pokemon. It was just a Sun setter and a Tailwind setter, and like that was basically the point of it. Now, you know, Sylveon picks up, Whimsicott's running the Fairy Feather. There's a Fairy type on practically every team. We see this happen with the VR Challenge 2. Fairy type, no Fairy type, Fairy type, Fairy type, no Fairy type, no Fairy type, Fairy type. You can see that Archaludon and Sableye still made like a deep run. Oh wait, there's a Fairy type here because there's a Floette. So let me try that again. Fairy type, no Fairy type, 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 technically, because there's a Ninetales. Fairy type damage exists now in the metagame, and it is not solely occupied by like a Floette monopoly. And that's even more the case with the current metagame, where we have all 3 Pokemon seeing play. We see offensive Whimsicott, we see Tailwind Sylveon, and we still see Mega Floette. There are 3 Fairy types in the game. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if you've ever played an Archaludon. Archaludon might be a half Steel type, but it certainly doesn't feel like it. When that thing takes a Hyper Voice, its heart skips a beat. It has palpitations, right? It is like, oh, geez, I didn't like that. Now, this tournament may not have the highest representation of Sylveon, and that's obviously due to the fact that Glimmora is picking up, but what it does have is high representation of a Pokemon with a ground type move and a Fairy Feather Whimsicott. This one's Kebiaberry, but Fairy Feather Whimsicott is a thing now. There are ways to hit this Pokemon that were not like a thing in the past. So yeah, Sableye, not getting as much value as it used to. I've tried Sableye on ladder recently. It just seems like the metagame just got way too aggressive for it. Those screens are not getting you nearly as much value, and it is just a risk to use. Still a good Pokemon, but it is extremely risky compared to how it was like a week ago. Milotic. Where did this guy go? Where's Milotic, guys? Yeah, so Milotic, you might recall, won, I believe, the first VR challenge. I believe it was in April. But it is no longer seeing heavy usage due to the fact that, frankly, Incineroar is down. And that's why both these Pokemon are here. Incineroar is down a little bit, and that is bad for Milotic. But also, if we see things like Sylveon, Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, and like to an extent Toxic Spike's Glimmora, all these different factors, all these things that are like more detrimental to a Milotic's survivability in a game, it makes it less and less likely that a Milotic is going to make a deep run in a tournament. It's just that, like, once again, the format is way more aggressive than it was a couple of days ago due to the existence of like hyper offense Aerodactyl Tailwind teams. Like, it is no longer a super position, like, let me get in the right spot, let me swords dance, let me do all this and that. It very much is like a all the Floettes dropped their Calm Mind and are running Light of Ruin format now. Like, you just want to swing. You're clicking that button, right? Speaking of clicking that button, you should like and subscribe. Yeah, it's not as setup heavy as it was before. It is very much a just swing and get your damage format, and that is low-key King Gambit and Basculegion's fault. Like, when I can just swing and then win the game later because everything's chipped down, it's not a good time for Milotic. And once again, Incineroar kind of in that same boat. It's not bad. It's still an incredible Pokemon, one of the best, arguably still top 5, even top 3. But the fact of the matter is, the format is very, very hostile to it, and Incineroar feels a little too passive. There are some forms of Incineroar that are less passive. We have seen Charcoal Incineroar. We've even seen like Tailwind Incineroar, where it's running 103 speed, max attack, and like able to one-shot Mega Gengar, Mega Delphox, and like one-shot King Gambit with Flare Blitz because it's Charcoal now. If you didn't know, Incineroar can't always one-shot King Gambit with Flare Blitz unless it's Charcoal. Yeah, so like that is a big thing. But we have seen a slight decrease in Megas not named Charizard and Aerodactyl. And of course, we see Glimmora picking up the slack. Yeah, a lot of the Megas that are in the game right now that are like seeing heavy usage are not your Gengars, are not your Delphoxes. Where'd Delphox go, frankly? Yeah, so Incineroar, it is good, right? But it's a more passive role on teams right now, and the format would prefer if you had like a Pokemon that's more proactive. And Incineroar could be proactive when those Pokemon existed, when like Gengar and Delphox were everywhere. But since those Pokemon are on the decline, Incineroar is on the decline. That's just like how the cookie crumbles with it. Not bad at all, but it's still technically on the decline. As for things on the rise, once again, we're just doubling down. Venusaur, an incredible Pokemon. Sleep Powder, Mega Form's also really good. You have Earth Power, tons of coverage. Glimmora, able to chip things down. And Dragonite, like, this is like the biggest winner right now. I think that people are realizing just how strong Dragonite can be even on non-rain teams, just because of that multi-scale. That multi-scale makes it so Dragonite can just come in and do whatever it wants at least once. And if that is a Draco Meteor or a Tailwind, in either situation, you get value from your Dragonite. And Extreme Speed isn't the best move on a Mega Dragonite, as it does have a lower attack set than base Dragonite, but it still has 124 speed, or it still has 124 attack. It's still getting value. And of course, you don't really need to run Protect on it to get as much value as you'd want. You probably want to run like Flamethrower. That's the team that won. It didn't run any Protect on it, because once again, multi-scale means that you're not getting one shot. You can kind of play a little bit more aggressively with this thing, and it gives it a move to actually hit King Gambit, as Dragonite does not actually have a way to hit King Gambit beyond that. You can see if we just put a Flamethrower on here and we put a King Gambit, should be a solid 2-shot. I don't think that King Gambit takes the hit super well. Yeah, Flamethrower 65%. The initial Kowtow Cleave with the multi-scale will do 46%. Sucker Punch only does 38%. Oh wait, let me break the multi-scale real quick. Sucker Punch does 76. So technically you can lose that interaction, but we can also just kind of play around it. You have Tailwind, you have Partner Pokemon, you have Extreme Speed. There's ways around that. And as for Pokemon I see potential in, there were 4 Pokemon I picked out. Incineroar, I know I said Incineroar's on the decline, but it's still potential. It's still got potential, right? Let me put Beedrill here. Pokemon I see potential in Beedrill. Yeah, Incineroar's got potential, obviously. I think more offensive Incineroar is going to pick up more and more. I think Charcoal is still, like, one of the better sets right now. Flare Blitz. It has access to Throat Chop, which is incredible into Sylveon teams. You're able to just shut that down. And if we do see Kommo-o picking up, if you have Tailwind and Throat Chop, you can shut down Kommo-o entirely. It just doesn't get to play the game. And yeah, and of course it still has Parting Shot. So Incineroar is good. I think that like Charcoal is a very solid item right now just to make sure you get more bang for your buck. Like Charcoal Incineroar is kind of nuts, right? Let me show you something, right? Like an average bulky, balancy Incineroar, like let's say that it only has like 5 attack, right? And it's like special defense invested, and you're facing a Sylveon. Fairy Feather Sylveon, you know, 32. Your Flare Blitz is doing 65% maximum. That's like not incredible damage, right? It's still... Oh, wait, that was Helping Hand Kingambit. Okay, maybe you do win the exchange with Kingambit. That was stupid of me. I don't know why I forgot to take off the Helping Hand. Anyways, yeah, Flare Blitz is dealing like 65%, but like if we put a Charcoal on it, you put a Charcoal on your Incineroar and you run like an Adamant Nature, and I've been running like 13 attack because that's the minimum you need to KO Kingambit. Adamant 13 attack, 76 to 90%. You chip that Sylveon down to that range, which isn't hard to do with the way that the game's played right now. A Rock Slide or a Hyper Voice will get it in range of an Incineroar Flare Blitz. I think that that is just good right now. Rhyperior. Rhyperior, on paper, actually does pretty well into most things right now. It's a very difficult Pokemon to play. That being said, the Rhyperior teams that did see success in the past were like Charizard, soft Trick Room hybrid teams where they had like the offensive mode, but you would run like a Farigiraf and a Rhyperior. And that's just because Rock Slide is still king, but also Rhyperior has great survivability with its massive HP and its ability Solid Rock. It has high horsepower, of course, which is incredible damage. It's a good ground type move, and it has coverage. It's got Ice Punch. It's got like low kick. Oh, no, it doesn't have low kick. It's got Brick Break. It's got like good coverage moves. I think that like you could look into Rhyperior, and Corviknight, of course, is still Corviknight. Corviknight is a Pokemon that can just absolutely mess with like even the best of teams. If this team loses their Charizard, if you put a Corviknight on a Sand team and they lose their Charizard, man, they don't have much of a way to break the Corv. Corv is ridiculous. Mega Executor, also a Pokemon that I just kind of think I want to look into down the road. It's just interesting. It's got an interesting type matchup with what's going on right now. Could be worth looking into. I don't have any specific thoughts on it. And of course, Beedrill, the face of potential mons. That's going to be it for today's video. I just want to talk about the current metagame, give you guys a little bit of an update. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys want me to talk about next. Goodbye.